The evidence. Many people had breakthroughs from the dinner and from the Manifestation Weekend Retreat. In this section, I'll let you hear their true stories, so you have a sense of the power of the Ho'oponopono process.
Here's one from Lewis Green. Dear Joe, I want to thank you again for putting together the evening with Dr. Hu Lin. Thanks are also in order to Suzanne for working on the details, including ordering me a vegan dinner from the Hyatt. I enjoyed sitting with you and Narissa and getting to know both of you, as well as the other wonderful people at our table. I felt privileged to have a front-row seat to hear Dr. Hu Lin, and for his grace and generosity in counseling me in response to my questions. The 2 weeks following that night have brought me many amazing experiences which I will gladly share with you. One thing that I had to remind myself of is that Dr. Hu Lin sought clearance from the divine to assist me, so that while I tried to apply Ho'oponopono as often as I could remember, which turned out to be sporadically, I was still benefiting from his prayers. I got the request for Dr. Hu Lin's stories right after listening to the recording. The first experience I'll mention is the email from Suzanne inviting stories and responses from the evening with Dr. Hu Lin. Interestingly, I purchased Life's Missing Instruction Manual and downloaded the MP3 recording of you and Dr. Hu Lin. I had literally just finished another listening to the recording when I found Suzanne's email in my inbox. My lawsuit went national with no publicity. The second experience is pretty incredible. I had a new lawsuit to file before I left for Austin on February 23rd. I couldn't get everything together in time to make the post office before I left, so I mailed it the next morning from an Austin post office. That was on February 24th. Inexplicably, my materials got lost in the mail and didn't arrive at their destination for filing until Monday, March 6th. I belong to a listserv for consumer advocate attorneys from around the country. Last Friday afternoon, an attorney from Connecticut posted a capsule summary of a case that had been filed in Canadian County, Oklahoma, and asked if my colleagues in Tulsa had filed it. Well, I almost fell over. It was my case. I emailed her back and called her office to find out how she found out about it. Then I spent the next hour trying to find something on Google. No luck. She emailed me back and said that she subscribes to an online service called Courthouse News Services. That's at courthousenews.com, which has stringers and probably moles who monitor legal filings and opinions from around the country and report important, significant, or simply intriguing developments. The one-paragraph synopsis appeared on the front page, right column of the website, and I had sent out no publicity on the case. Ironically, the client's father had visited my office earlier in the day, and I had to reassure him that I believed in my heart that we have a strong case to take to trial. It blows my mind to think that out of thousands of cases that are filed every day, mine made the news. A dinner I arranged at the last minute attracted record attendance. I'm on the board of our local vegetarian group, and our monthly meetings are usually on the second Saturday of the month. When I checked with the president about a place for our March meeting, I found out that no arrangements had been made. I volunteered to pick up the ball. On Tuesday, February 28th, I went to the top restaurant on my list, only to find out that the owner was out of town till Friday, March 3rd, but they'd leave a message for her to call me when she got back in town. Well, that wouldn't work. The next day, Wednesday, March 1st, I went to a Thai restaurant that had been open only for a few months. I spoke to the manager and asked if they could do a vegetarian dinner buffet. I told him that, based on my experience, 20 people would be a lock, and a really good turnout would be a little over 30. He said they could do it, but would want a $100 deposit to make sure that they wouldn't take a hit if they bought a lot of extra food and no one showed up. I picked the menu, and it was an incredible deal. Vegetarian sushi, soup, 4 entrees, dessert, and tea for $8. He said he'd check with the owner, and I'd have to arrange for the deposit check. On March 2nd, we were able to confirm it. I wrote a short announcement that the president could take and put into our e-newsletter. The dinner would be Saturday, March 11th, and I requested RSVPs by Thursday, March 9th at 5 p.m. Now, normally our president gets the monthly newsletter out either by a couple days before or after the first of the month. Most people get their newsletter by email, and some get it by snail mail. We also post it at local health food stores and libraries. This time around, though, the president didn't have time to put out a newsletter and basically sent out my email to her as an announcement on Sunday night, March 5th. The snail mail notices went out by postcard on Monday, and there were no public postings. I was beginning to think that we'd be lucky to get our 20 for the dinner. On Monday, the RSVPs started to trickle in. I heard from a couple of people. A few more came in on Tuesday, so I thought we'd get the 13 minimum we guaranteed with the deposit. However, starting on Wednesday, the RSVPs came pouring in like never before. By the end of the day, we were up to 37. It occurred to me that we might experience a different kind of problem. So I called the manager and asked him what the capacity of the restaurant was. He said it was 65. Well, the responses kept rolling in on Thursday, and by the time we hit our deadline, we were up to 55. I was not very productive at work that day before I was so excited and focused on checking my email every few minutes. Could that be the attractor factor? I called the manager and asked if they could handle that many, and he said sure. I take a Kabbalah class on Thursday evenings and didn't get home until after 9 o'clock. I checked phone and email and received even more reservations. The count got up to 67. I began to seriously think about what to do with the overflow. My brilliant idea was to see if I could get the late responders who were begging to be able to go to come a little later. My responses came in Friday and Saturday. We got up to a stunning number of 75. The event was a raging success. Not everyone who reserved attended, and a few showed up who didn't reserve at all, which is quite typical, actually. The energy in the restaurant was awesome, as before too long we had filled every seat in the place. This made a great impression on several people who had made the Thai buffet their first event. Some of the old-timers who were founding members over 10 years ago said that this was the record attendance for a Vegetarians of Oklahoma event. Staggering the seating worked perfectly. There were some who came for dinner and had to move on to other Saturday evening activities. There were always seats available for those who came later. The people at the restaurant were understandably pleased because they'd never had a group that large in before. Rental car miracles. I rented a car to go to Austin because I didn't want to put the extra wear and tear on mine. I compared rates and figured out that I'd do just as well to rent a car for a week than just renting from Wednesday to Monday. I got a good price online to rent a mid-sized car, which I thought would be more comfortable than a compact. When I got to the rental agency, I found that there were very few vehicles on the lot. I did happen to notice that they had 2 orange Chevy HHRs, which have a cool street rod look. When I went to the counter, I was told that they didn't have any mid-size cars to rent me. I asked if I could have an HHR, and they said that I could, even though they were classified as full-sized for some reason. I thought it would be cool to rent an orange hot rod to drive to Austin, since orange is one of the school colors for the University of Texas, my alma mater. However, when I drove it off the lot into my office, I realized that while the car was neat-looking on the outside, it was cramped inside with bad sightlines. I wanted to return it. However, I needed the car to get to my office and to run some errands. I couldn't get it returned during the day. I contacted the agency about swapping the car for a more conventional sedan, but they said that they still didn't have what I wanted on the lot and that I'd have better luck in the morning. Well, I packed overnight and in the morning, and when I went out to the HHR to throw in my suitcase, I discovered, to my horror, that the car had a noticeable door ding on the rear passenger's door. Of course, I always decline the extra insurance, and I didn't remember seeing the dent the day before, so I thought I was screwed. I thought that I'd go ahead and hang on to the car for a week and see if I could figure something out. I left much later than I wanted to, around 12:30 p.m. on a Thursday, and I got to Austin around 6:30. Now flash forward to Saturday evening at 5 p.m., an hour before I wanted to get to the Hyatt for the event with Joe and Dr. Hulen. I had spent too much time worrying about the dent and what I was going to do about it. I was at a shopping center in North Austin trying to find a disposable digital camera with absolutely no luck. When I got back into my car to drive back to the hotel, it was getting dark and there was a steady rain. I had stopped at a place to merge onto a busy street when I felt a sudden smack. I was rear-ended. Immediately I was thinking, oh shit, first the door ding, then this. I have a dinner in 1 hour that I've already paid for, but needed time to shower and change. On top of everything, this was a high-traffic area, even on a Saturday evening. I got out of the HHR after first grabbing the rental registration information. A young black man met me in the street. "My tires," he said. "I've got to get new tires for my car. I couldn't get it stopped." Not a good thing to tell a lawyer, I thought. I said, "Crap, this is a rental car." We walked to the back of the HHR to survey the damage. We both looked and were stunned. There's no damage. There is no damage. Praise Jesus! Being Jewish, I thought that was amusing, but I looked myself, and I couldn't believe it. This car was apparently made with the collapsible plastic. Incredibly, he was right. There was no damage. I knew that I was going to be sore, but I didn't want to stick around and make a deal of this. I wanted to get back to my hotel. Well, we shook hands and went our own ways. I was able to make the dinner and sit at Joe and Nerissa's table. I did some serious ho'oponoponoing about what to do about the door ding. I put off seriously doing something about it until a couple of hours before I was supposed to return the car with penalty. I looked in the phone book and found a place that did paintless dent repair. The guy at the shop gave me an estimate of $95, but it would take him a few hours to complete the repair. That would put me into a rental penalty, which I really didn't want to do. I asked what to do, and the answer came clearly. Be honest. Call the local office of the rental agency and fess up. If they wanted to jam me on the repair, I at least had an estimate. I did call, and the guy on the phone told me not to have the car worked on, but to bring the car by so they could check their records and survey the dent themselves. I said fine. I took the car back and left it parked in the return lane. The customer service lady started scanning the barcode and taking readings on the HHR. I told her what was going on, and she sent me to the office trailer. I found the guy whom I talked to on the phone, and he punched the car's identification number in on his computer. Miracle 2. The damage was already noted on their records. I was not responsible. Hallelujah, I was home free. My sister was offered her dream job. My sister called 1 week after the evening with Joe and Dr. Hulen. She's a vice president for a division of a very large company you've heard of. She was contacted by a headhunter to find out if she would be interested in what she described as her dream job. She didn't want to tell me on the phone. Instead, she emailed me the job description she received from the recruiting agency. Well, I was knocked over. Let's just say the company is a luxury brand, and all I'd have to do is tell you one word, the company name, and that would say it all. A few months later, she was hired.